I'm back. Sorry, I got a phone call during the middle, so it cut me off. So, Thomas Del Monte Hastings is where Hastings, Nebraska got its name. What's next? Let me see. This one I forgot to grab a bag that went with this one. But I'm going to have you imagine you're outside, you're digging in the ground. And as you're digging in the ground, you see something that is called sod. Sod. Sod is where dirt and some of the grass are mixed together, and that is the sod. Some of you, maybe in your yard, you've laid sod before to make, and that has grass and dirt on it, and then it makes your yard look really nice and the grass sprouts out of it. Well, Nebraska, so I'm talking about our state, was known for their wonderful sod. It was called Nebraska marble. Marble is very fancy. And guess what people could do on the Nebraska marble? They could farm. And that is one of the reasons why people came to Hastings too, because we had good land to farm on. And they used the sod to make homes. They would cut the ground up and they would place the sod on a home. If you have a computer, you can Google sod homes and you'll see what it looked like. I bet you've seen a picture before. My next lesson, Mrs. Mangers is going to talk more about the sod homes and I'll show you a better picture. Okay. So, in 1878, something was formed in Hastings. A fire department was formed to help put out fires. Well, 1878. Okay, so keep that in your mind. 1878. The next year, 1879, there was a big fire in Hastings called the Downtown Fire. Well, it spread like crazy because all of the buildings downtown were made of wood. What do you know about wood and fire? It burnt down 33 businesses in the downtown area. The fire equipment that was purchased was a hand pump engine for $680, a hook and ladder wagon, and 14 fire extinguishers. So you know the fire extinguishers that you might have in your house if you had a kitchen fire? The first fire station was built for a cost of $1,000. The worst fire that ever occurred in Hastings was this one, the fire of 1879 downtown. And like I said before, what do you know about wood and fire? 33 buildings. It wiped the whole downtown out. There wasn't enough equipment. There were not enough firefighters to keep the fire under control. And like I said again, wood, fire, not a good combination. Okay. Next thing. Let me see. What do I have in my treasure box? Let me see. This is a picture of downtown. This was 1930 though. So you can see that the buildings then were not made out of wood. They were made out of maybe bricks or other type of materials that would not start on fire easily after that big fire. Something else I have in my treasure box is a couple pictures of different schools. Okay, so if you look in your packet, there's different schools that were in Hastings, different elementary schools. And this is a picture of one of them. In 1874, a 2-story schoolhouse was built in Hastings' First Ward School. It was on Burlington and Lincoln between A and B Street. It could hold 300 students. Then they built a school in 1888 called South Ward School, and that was in Hastings Avenue, on Hastings Avenue between G and I, which was more downtown. And then, I said this wrong. West Ward was built first before South Ward in 1886. And that was on 6th Street between Saunders and Briggs. So kind of by where Morton is now, in that same area. Then there was, even before South Ward and West Ward in 1876. So after the first school, Hastings First Ward, then in 1876, there was North Ward. This was the high school, but was later torn down, and Longfellow was built in its spot. So first, 1874 was the Hastings First Ward School. Then North Ward, which was 1876, and that was the high school, but then was torn down, and Longfellow was built in its spot. Boys and girls, I have a picture of a class at the North Ward School in 1889. And there were 40 to 50 students in that class. So let's say one grade level. So like if that was 3rd grade, there'd be 40 to 50 in 3rd grade. Okay. A fire destroyed parts of the Longfellow building in 1886. And in 1887, a new high school, elementary school, was built in the same location, and that became known as the North Ward. Longfellow, where Longfellow is, was built in 1927. And this is a picture of it. So we'll talk more about those schools, but I think it's pretty cool to learn about Longfellow. And in the 1950s, they added an addition to our school. So where Mrs. Ron's room and the art room were in some kindergarten rooms, those were added on to the original building from 1927. Okay, then I have this, and this was a picture in 1910 at a very fancy place called the Kerr Opera House. And this is a building that is still downtown now. It has been remodeled, but the Kerr Opera House is where people went for entertainment. So we might go to the movie theater, we might go to a museum. Back in 1910, people would go to an opera, kind of like a concert, but they would get very, very fancy. A lot of times just the moms and dads went, but sometimes if the kids were lucky, they would get to go along. And they would listen to the singers, and the singers would sing an opera. You could Google and listen to what is opera singing. And it was the only place all the way between Omaha, Nebraska and Denver, Colorado that was like this. It was a very, very special place and very, very fancy. You can tell by the picture. Well, unfortunately, they had to close the opera house because people weren't coming anymore. And part of the reason why people weren't coming is they were starting to go to the movie theaters when movies came out. So Kerr Opera House and the Kerr family is very important to Hastings history. And we're going to listen to a story later on during Hastings history lessons about the Kerr family and a black angel. It's kind of a spooky one. What else do I have in here? A rainbow and a fish. I'll give you a clue. My family gets ice cream and we drive around this fountain in the summer. And out of it comes colored water.
I think you can do any of these. Yeah, these are the only two I got.
Did you think about a place that has colored water that's a fountain? Rainbow, Fisher, fountain. Rainbow, Fisher, fountain. That fountain was built when things were not well in our country. People were having troubles farming because there wasn't enough rain to keep the crops alive. So the town of Hastings built this fountain as a sign of hope, kind of like what's happening right now with our coronavirus. Everyone kind of seems down, but the community at this time, when they were feeling down because their crops weren't going and people were losing jobs, they built this fountain to symbolize hope. And the fountain was named after the mayor. Jacob Fisher was his name. And after a rainbow, because the rainbow of colors that come out. So a little background. Where did they get the name? Well, they had a contest for all the school kids. What could we name this beautiful new fountain that we have? One girl said, we need to name it Fisher Fountain after our wonderful mayor, Jacob Fisher. One girl said, no, we need to name it Rainbow Fountain because the colors are rainbow colored. Well, they thought they were both such good names, they ended up combining Rainbow, Fisher, Fountain. The last, one of the last, things that I have in my treasure box is a Kool-Aid cup. And I bet you know why I have a Kool-Aid cup. Kool-Aid was actually manufactured and made in Hastings, Nebraska. We're going to talk a lot more about that, but that is one of the coolest facts. Kool-Aid was made here in Hastings. by a man named Edwin Perkins. We're going to read about him. Not today, but another day. So now I just have 3 more things that are in here. And this is a license plate. And I wanted to show you that because, and you'll, I bet you probably know this. This was a license plate from a long time ago, back in the 90s, actually. And it has the number 14 on it because Adams County is represented as the 14th county for license plates. Grand Island, which is in Hall County, those people drive around and they have an 8 on their license plate. Okay. And that has to do with our population, how many people live in our county. But we are number 14 for license plate. A railroad sign, because remember, the tracks crossed in Hastings, which made it even better, and people were able to come to our town to settle because of those 2 tracks crossing. And then, like I told you, the railroad is very important to Hastings history. I just have another railroad cap. You've probably seen men that work on the railroad wearing a cap like this, or having overalls that are this print, singing, "I've been working on the railroad." So, boys and girls, those are some of the things that we will be learning more about throughout Hastings history. Sorry, it's Mrs. Manger's first time to film, so if my hand was in the way, I apologize there. So, try and remember a few of those facts. We'll go into more detail about each of them. I look forward to getting a like on my YouTube channel for this video. Goodbye.